Hello, my name is Alistair Fell and I've been a barrister since 1994. I've been asked to talk to you about my career journey and also to talk to you about the work of a barrister. Putting it very simply, a barrister is a lawyer with special training in court advocacy, which means representing people in court. What I'm going to do during this talk is to go through my journey as a barrister. I'm then going to talk about the role of a barrister, what we actually do on a day-to-day basis. I'm also going to talk about the skills that you will need to become a barrister yourself. And then finally, I'm going to answer some questions that we tend to get asked on a regular basis by people who are interested in the work that we do. So how did my journey as a barrister begin? Well, it was always my dream since primary school to become a barrister. I'm not sure how or why that dream came about, but I knew from about the age of 10 that that's what I wanted to do, and it was always fixed in my mind as something that I should be aiming to achieve. The journey to becoming a barrister, however, wasn't an easy one. I didn't work hard enough at school to begin with. I love playing sports, I love football, and I love playing around in school. And because of that, my grades started to suffer and I wasn't actually doing very well. My teachers were saying that if I didn't start focusing, I wouldn't be passing my exams. I needed to focus more, but I wasn't really listening to them. I was just more interested in playing around. But one day I had a serious conversation with my mother. I was about 14 years old, and she said to me, "Alistair, you are throwing away your life. You need to start focusing on your work." And I'd never heard her sound like that before. There was a calmness in her voice, but it was also a bit scary as well because it wasn't something I was expecting to hear. But I suppose what she was trying to do was to remind me that education was something that was very precious and it was something that we needed to make the most of. And it completely changed my outlook and how I viewed things in life. And I started to think more seriously about what I needed to do in order to turn things around. So what did I do? Well, the first thing I did was I realized that it was actually possible to enjoy sports, enjoy football, and also focus on my work. And I did both. I started reading a bit more, and that was really important because it helped to widen my vocabulary. It improved my written work. And I think more importantly, it actually opened up my mind to many more ideas and thoughts. So reading was a crucial thing for me. I also had two very good friends at secondary school, and we worked together as a team to improve our work and our grades. And that healthy competition actually helped all three of us to improve our performance in school. The other thing I did was that I spent about 4 weeks during one of the school summer holidays working in a solicitor's firm. So a solicitor is also a lawyer. And I was able to get my own experience of what life was like as not only a solicitor but also as a barrister, because I was able to go to court and I was able to see barristers doing the work that they do. And I realized for sure at that point that I definitely wanted to become a barrister and to do the work that they were doing. So I continued to work consistently through school. My grades improved and I got the grades that I needed to study law at university. And after going to university, I went to law school to do the practical training that all barristers have to do. So that's a very brief summary of the journey that I had in becoming a barrister. I want to talk about now the actual work that barristers do on a day-to-day basis. And there is a lot of work that you can do as a barrister. You can work in the criminal courts, where you will represent someone who is maybe charged with a very serious offence, anything from shoplifting all the way up to an alleged murder. Some barristers work in the family court, and they spend their time trying to protect children from harm. You also have barristers that work in the civil courts, and they will try to get compensation for their clients who have suffered harm from somebody else. But you also have barristers who don't go to court at all, so they will spend their time giving legal advice. Some of them might be working for local authorities, they might be working for companies, and they will do written advices, they will do drafting, and they won't go to court much at all. You also have some barristers who do what we call mediation work. So this is where you try to get two people who are disagreeing to agree without going to court. It can save a lot of money and time and a lot of stress. So barristers can be involved in that work too. Another example of the work that some barristers do, you may have seen it on TV. We have in Parliament barristers who work in Parliament helping to write legislation, drafting legislation, so drafting the laws that we have to follow in England. So where do barristers tend to do their work? Well, most of us will work from within a building which is called chambers. This is quite a large building with many different rooms where we can work inside. It's where we can meet our clients. It tends to contain law reports and books so that we can do our legal research. We also have people working inside chambers called clerks, and their job is to manage your diary as a barrister, to make sure that you're in court and to make sure you know which court you're going to be in each day of the week. It's also their job to make sure that you get paid for the work that you do. Some barristers also work from home. Not all of them want to go into chambers every day because it can be hard work travelling into the city to get there. So many of us work from home, which is what I do very often as well. As you can see, I'm in my study at the moment and I can do a lot of the work that I need to do from here. So what do I do in fact as a barrister? Well, my main area of practice is criminal law and also public law. The criminal work that I do involves representing people in court who are accused of committing a criminal offence, and my job is to question witnesses, to make speeches to the jury, and to prepare legal arguments as well. The other work that I do is in the area of public law, which involves working on public inquiries. So what's an inquiry? Well, an inquiry involves looking into a major event. For example, you may have heard of the Grenfell inquiry, which is looking at why a major fire took place in a block of flats a few years ago. We also had the Stephen Lawrence inquiry that took place many years back. So an inquiry is trying to establish what happened, why it happened, and what lessons we can learn from it. So those are the two areas of work that I do. I want to tell you now a little bit about what we actually wear when we're in court, because as barristers you have to wear a particular uniform. So one of the things I'm wearing here is a gown, which I'll just put on so you can see it more clearly. We wear this in court. I wouldn't normally have the tie on when I'm in court. That comes off and you have a detachable collar. You then put this collar around you like this, so it sits there on your neck. And then around the collar we wrap these bands, which wrap around like that. And then the last thing that we'll wear is this strange thing here, this wig. I'll just put it on for you for a few seconds. You can see I look a bit strange now, so I'm going to take it off. So it's a rather strange uniform that we have to wear. What are the reasons for wearing it? Well, it's mainly to signify your position as someone who's trained in court advocacy. Advocacy basically means speaking on behalf of somebody else in court, which is what we do as barristers. Wearing that uniform also reminds people of the seriousness of the work that you're doing in court, because going to court is actually a serious affair. And wearing the uniform, I think, helps remind everybody in court of just how serious it actually is. The other reason why we wear the uniform is that we should all, as barristers, look the same. That may seem a strange idea, but the idea behind it is that whatever age you are, whatever colour you are, whether you're male or female, you are a barrister. You've all had the same training and we all have the same skills, and that's why we are required to wear that uniform in court. So that's a little bit then about the uniform. What are the skills that you're going to need if you want to become a barrister in years to come? Well, you certainly need to be determined, because it's very, very competitive becoming a barrister, because lots of people want to do it. It's a very enjoyable job, so you have to be very, very determined to want to do this. You also have to enjoy reading. I don't think there's any real escape from that, because the work that we do involves a lot of reading. We have to read our case papers, we have to read textbooks, we have to read law reports. It also involves working long hours sometimes. We don't just work from 9 to 5. Sometimes if we're preparing for a case, we might have to work quite late into the night. We might even have to work at weekends. You also have to be very confident in speaking. You should be comfortable about speaking in front of other people, because that's what your job is going to involve. You should also be someone that is calm under pressure, because being in court can be very stressful for your clients, and they need to know that you're calm and doing as professional a job for them as possible. You also need to be someone that's able to communicate with different people, because the clients that you're going to represent will come from all areas of life. They might be very young, they might be more old, they might be confident, they might be shy, they may be calm, they may be nervous. You have to be able to deal with your client however they present themselves. So, what are the benefits of being a barrister? I've told you about the hard stuff, the fact that you have to do a lot of work and reading, but there are some real benefits to this job. You get to meet very different people, interesting people. You also have the satisfaction of being involved in interesting cases, challenging cases. You also have the pleasure of helping people to solve their legal problems, and that's a very good feeling to have. The other great thing, of course, is when you win your case. It's an incredible feeling. You won't win all of your cases, but you will certainly win some of them, and I can tell you now it is a great experience knowing that you've helped to bring about that result for your client. So I said I'd answer at the end of my presentation some questions that we often get asked as barristers. So the first question is this: how long does it take to become a barrister? Well, you have to spend 3 years at university learning the various legal subjects. You then have to go to law school for a year, and then when you've done that, you have to do 1 year of practical training. It's called a pupillage, and that involves following another barrister around, watching them and learning what they do. So in total, you're looking at about 5 years in total to become a barrister. It sounds a long time, but actually time flies by very, very quickly. Question number 2. How can you represent someone that you know is guilty or has done something wrong? We often get asked this question as barristers, and the answer actually is very simple. Your job as a barrister is not to judge anybody. It's your job to represent your client to the best of your ability and to present the case as best you can. And it's for the jury to decide whether or not your client has actually done something wrong or whether your client is guilty. Question number 3. Do barristers earn lots of money? Well, the simple answer to this is yes, some barristers do earn a lot of money, and there are some barristers who don't earn a huge amount of money. I think it very much depends on how experienced you are, and it also depends on the type of work that you're actually doing. I think the best advice I can give you is that if you work hard, you will normally be rewarded for that effort and hard work. But I'd also say this: you shouldn't just think about becoming a barrister for the money. You've got to think about whether you're going to enjoy the job that you're going to be doing. Next question: what do you like most and what do you least like about being a barrister? Well, I think the thing I like most of all is speaking in court on behalf of other people, questioning witnesses, making speeches. Everyone's looking at you at that point, and it's a great opportunity for you to present your client's case using the best skills that you have as an advocate in court and trying to get the best result you can for your client. What's the least thing that I like about being a barrister? I think waiting for the jury to reach its decision or its verdict in a case, that can be a very stressful time for both you and the client, because you can be waiting several days sometimes for the jury to come back with their decision, and that's not a very pleasant experience because you're waiting around. So these are some of the common questions that were asked, and I hope the answers that I've given you have been helpful. So finally, I want to say this: I hope that this video presentation has given you a better understanding of what barristers do and what the life of a barrister actually involves. For those of you who are actually thinking about a career as a barrister, I have a few tips for you. You should think about going to your local court with your parents or as part of a school trip if you have that opportunity, so that you can see with your own eyes what barristers are doing. I would also suggest that when you get a bit older, maybe 16, 17, consider doing what we call a mini pupillage, which involves going to a barrister's chambers, spending maybe a week with barristers at court and seeing exactly what work they do. The other thing you can do is to apply for marshalling, which involves sitting alongside a judge in court and seeing how the courtroom is run. These are just a few of the ideas for what you can do to get a taste of life as a barrister. Finally, I want to wish all of you the very best in your career journey in the coming years, whatever you decide you wish to be. Thank you.